Hi, I'm Log, and I'm going to be playing through City Skylines with you. I have some existing maps that I can show some other time, but I thought it'd be nice to start something from the beginning. So we're going to have Pearl Bay as the starting zone. I'll show you the only mod I've got enabled, which is the Infinite Resources mod, just so that our source industries for ore and oil don't run out over time, because I'd like to make this sort of an industry-focused city if I can. And I'll try and, as part of this playthrough, explain my understanding of both the basic industry and industry specializations as well as the DLC ones, and I'll use both of them in this city and show you how I set up that structure. So this is the only mod I'm going to have on in the game, is the unlimited oil and ore mod. I have played without it before, but it's kind of nice if you're going to focus on industry as I want to in this game, because then you don't have to rush through and make sure you're importing. You can play with it off because your oil and ore industries can switch to importing stuff, but it does mean that your source industries, both in the non-DLC and in the DLC versions of industry, run out, and so those buildings stop being productive. I just want to be able to keep using them throughout. So for our city name, I'm going to go for lots of logs because I am Log, and we'll probably do a fair bit of forestry. I'm turning on left-hand traffic because I'm from the UK and it's just the way around my mind works. Sorry if that's going to be a confusion for you. If any of you are watching my Satisfactory and other playthroughs, you'll also see that I do roads, mostly roads, and the rail in Satisfactory left-hand drive as well. Unless things are really going to be awkward, I tend to prefer it just because it's the natural way I work. Sorry if it's going to be backward for a lot of you, probably. So we're starting on Pearl Bay. It's going to be a city called Lots of Logs. It's going to be left-hand drive, and see how it goes. I'm sure there must be a mod by now to get a little spinning Elon Musk head there instead of the usual Keeper. Keeper's his name, isn't it? Okay, so this will be a run through of how I start a city in City Skylines. I've done several of these before. I'm playing currently on PC through Steam. The first times I played with City Skylines, it was using my PlayStation 4. So I've played a couple of cities through on that and quite enjoyed it. The nice thing about having it on Steam is that you get access to the mods that people make and the extra packs and stuff. I'm not using any of those at the moment. This has just got some of the DLCs, or many of the existing DLCs, but nothing else special. So let's start by building roads and zoning as suggested. Leave things paused for a moment, get out the basic roads, and I need to think about which way around I'm doing it. This has lots of trees, so that might become a logging area. That would be logging after I expand, but that's probably not going to happen yet. And since we're talking about an industrial playthrough, it'd be good if we had the overlays, but unfortunately, this start of the game, everything is locked, so let's just get the basics done. We're going to need a road and build it out 3 zones. That unlocks more types of road for us. And then we can start thinking about zoning. And I think I will put my houses down to the right-hand side, I guess, this playthrough. We'll see how it goes. So this centre bit, I don't want to build close to here because I expect we'll have to rip out the middle bit. One thing I've definitely learned when you're starting a city is this major road here, you kind of need to be able to continue this some sensible way throughout your city. We'll probably go across this river at some point, so I need to think about leaving a space for this to travel over here. If you don't do that, you have major problems later as traffic levels get up and up, and it's way better to try and leave free space at the start. So let's leave some spaces. I'm going to spin around so that I can line up the camera a bit. And I want to carry on this road this way for a bit. Let's see if I can get the cheap road to do my penciling in with. Where is it done? So we'll just stick this road out here so I can see where they are. And for the residential stuff, I might use this road at the side in it. So I'm going to have a 3 here, and then I'll probably need another main road set in from it. So go in that far, leave that 2 space this side. I'll do the same on this side, and then I will build my skeleton of where I'm going to lay everything out. So to begin with, you need some shops and you need some residential. You normally need more residential than shops, and residential doesn't mind the noise as much. I'll try and turn this into a bit of a main sort of starting district area. So this will be my main road between industry on this side, commercial and residential on this side. As I'll do a small amount of commercial. So I'll change this over to this icon. And now it's safe enough to have commercial in these gaps because I don't think anything else is going to use them. And we need to make space for your residential. Now I'll treat this as if you haven't played City Skylines much before. So actually I will get my low cost road because we need to save every penny at the start. So the biggest size of building that gets developed naturally by like the auto building in zones is size 4 square. So you want to bear that in mind when laying your roads. You'll try and even things up each side. So if I want 4 squares at the side, that would be where I place my next road. But I'm probably going to try and stick a footpath in behind here, which is 1 square wide. That'll sit here. And so I'll put a road across here, and then I'll deliberately only zone on the front edge of this. And the similar sort of way, you want squares of 4 either side of your junctions, so that'll be a 4 up to here, and then the next 1, 2, 3, 4 would be there. So is that the right way? Yes. So I'm going to put a connection through here, and I'll do the same thing over here. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3. Start on the road so that I don't get junctions in weird spot. If you're not playing with a mod, you need to think about where you start and end your roads, because I see it sort of snaps there for me a bit. That's because there's a node there, and when you place roads, there's always a node where you start placing. So if I click here, it'll make a node at this point. That becomes important later when the traffic starts doing all sorts of fun things. And sometimes once you've worked out an area and you've got money later on, it is worth ripping out roads and starting again, but won't worry about that stage. So I carry on my grid, and I want another 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this will be the connection through here. We've got lots of nice little tight grids here, and I'll leave this open to expand off the side. I need to do the similar thing on this side, so I'll come down to here, and I can copy across from that side. I can see that that's where I've got my node that side, so I'll draw across. And this will be industrial areas, so I want to make sure these are as big as they can be. So that's going to be a 4 from there, and I've got guidelines turned on, so you can see as I hover around here, it shows me where I line up with this top road, and there's another line to show me up where I line up with this bottom road. And then this is an indicator that it puts onto you to tell you the multiples of 4 that we're looking for. I come along here and then connect that, and then connect that. This will now be a big industrial area. As it's going to be industrial area, I'll put less crossroads in here. I'll connect it up there. So, game's still paused. I need to zone. So for my residential, I'm putting my residential in here. And now for commercial, I'll continue to zone commercial along here. As I said, I don't want to connect on this side. I want the commercial to be fronted on that street. Actually, looking at this, I don't want to leave too big a gap, so I will build a throughway there so that people can get from the residential to the main road and to the shops. And for this industrial area, I think I'll put industry all along the front this side, so I'll just industry that whole block. At the early game, all people want is residential, so that's what you need to focus on. What thing I'll need to build into is I need to get a water source. So initially, I'll take my water from here and I'll dump my sewage here because it'll all be close together and I can share plumbing. But later on, I'll try and get the sewage to go straight into the ocean so that I don't have it flowing. Later on, I will be able to get new types of sewage treatment, which will make it better. So now I've unpaused the game. If I go back to the normal view, you'll see that some housing is starting to come in, and my demand is going tiny bit down. At the beginning, we'll probably see vehicles coming in. Sometimes you see one vehicle arriving for each house, sometimes you don't, and the houses will build come in later, but I'll expect to see quite a bit of the zoning coming. So now I mentioned the economy panel. Early on, you don't need to do much with the economy. Road maintenance, I suggest you always leave 100%. I can't remember the downside of it. I think your roads get slower out if you turn it down and traffic gets worse. Power and water I probably want to play around with once I get that set up. I'll come back here. The other useful thing you can see from here is when you've got stuff, you can see where your money is coming from and going to. So we'll look through this as that becomes relevant. I can't change the taxes at the moment, and I can't take any loans, so I've just got the starting, which is why I'm being careful about what I build. Right, now things have come in and the houses are built, getting icons over these houses. These people have moved in and they want power, which is reasonable, and they want main sewage and water. Again, something that I think we can all understand, and we'd all want new homes. I'll keep on with this simple 2-lane road, and I'll extend this as far down as I can. And then over here, I will think about how I'm going to do my water supply. So I've got a water supply, so a pumping station would be a good option. It's loud and noisy, but it gives you quite a lot of water. I'll put that here, I think. And then I will build, mostly for aesthetics, a little road to run along the front there, which I will remove the straight line and put in a free-form road. I try and form to follow the water, and then hopefully I'll be able to put more pumps in along there. Go back into the water tab, and I will put in my temporary water treatment stuff. I don't want inland plants. I could probably put an eco pump in, so an eco outlet versus the vanilla outlet. So I've got the environmentally friendly mod, so I can get these ones which supposedly make lower pollution. See, the pollution is 0 and the noise pollution is 10, whereas the regular one, it says the same. So I'm never quite sure how those actually benefit you. I think it's just the same pipe but degree. Cost me $3.20 a week for this one, and it will deal with 1200 sewage. This one will deal with half the amount of sewage and cost me more money. So at this stage of the game, I'm going to say sorry to the environment and put in this cheaper one. Try and put it a little bit away. Now, sewage and water physics in this game works semi-realistically. These arrows indicate the flow of the river, so it's moving in this direction. If I dump sewage in here, it won't travel upstream, especially not when these arrows are quite big. There's quite a strong current. It'll carry it down, and we'll see that happening. That's my basic stuff in. I now need to connect things up, so I'm going to run my sewer and water main up this center structure back into my industry area, and that's going to be quite a chunk of my money, but it's necessary. I need to make sure that separate to this, I connect these pumps up. So I'll run out and connect the sewage outlet. The little ding there to tell me it's connected. I will connect the water source. So now if these have power, they will also get water processing. For the moment, and it's quite handy to do when it's far out like this, I could put down a wind turbine. That'll cost me 6,000. I've gone for a wind turbine down this end to fill in this area. You'll notice I've skipped ahead a little bit, and I've also placed in a coal power plant up here in the industrial area, which will make pollution, but it's an industrial area. It's going to get very polluted early on anyway. That big red circle of the noise and the bulk of the pollution is outside of where my residential zone will be, and so that I feel is a fair enough compromise. It will cost me a bit of money to import the coal and things. I'm not making any coal yet. I think that's fine. I've also hopped a main power line from here, which is just inside this blue zone, which is where the power reaches to just from the plant and these buildings adjacent, across this main road and into this residential and commercial area, and then the power can travel down this area entirely. And I've zoned in a little bit more residential, each time extending off of where I've got things constructed already, so that the power can travel through the buildings that are already there, and I don't have to keep building power lines. Change my tweet. Someone's complaining that they don't have water, so it's a good time to just check if everything has got a coverage of water. And you can see that now I've extended my plumbing to cover most of these areas. Everything's under a blue shader, so it should have water. So that complaint should go away. Small industrial demand, but I know I've got more industrial zone over here. You can check if you go into it. And I've got quite a high demand residential, so I will need more of that, although it's some zoning in. And now I need to think about where I'm going to continue putting my residential. These are noisy and slightly polluting, so people don't want to live next to them. So I probably don't want to put residential in this space. So there's a question about whether I want to carry on the commercial down this end, or if I can build some residential in this area, or if it's time to start building a new section of residential over here. And I think as long as the money holds out, it's probably worth starting the next residential section behind here and leaving this end for some sort of commercial development in the future. So I will skip ahead a second and put down some roads in preparation of this. I'm trying to keep the cost of roads down. It's 40 per cell for the tarmac roads or asphaltic roads, and it's 20 per cell, so it's half as much to do these, and you can upgrade them later. So if I go back to the regular one, there's this exclamation mark to upgrade roads, and it lets you hover over a road and you can upgrade a section. It's, I think, cheaper just to build them straight off, but it doesn't make a lot of difference. So if you're paused like this and you build something and destroy it, you get 100% of the costs back, I think, whilst you haven't unpaused. As soon as you've unpaused, you lose an amount of the stuff you get back. So it's a good idea for planning stuff out, as I'm about to do, to pause the game whilst you do the skeleton of it all, and once you're happy with it, let it rip. So let's go back to straight roads and work my way out. I'll probably want the same gap on this side, so I want to leave the one wide gap behind this and then put my road through here again. And I'll bring this all the way down. Bring it down as far as my next big connection. Put that in. I have a crossway here already, so I'll extend that over. And then to mirror things on this side, I will bring the crossway across. This time, however, I'm going to go far enough out that I can fit a path down the middle. I quite like to do that in my towns. It helps reduce traffic later on. Line up with this line that tells me I can connect to this road down here. And then from this side I want to extend across. Now I've caused myself a bit of an issue at this end because it doesn't like connecting roads that'll make a wonky road. If you don't mind slightly wonky roads, then do that. If you want things to be exactly on a grid, you will sometimes need to delete an end road there, or you can go into this option and turn off an amount of the scrapping. So if I tap, I think this is going to be a road length one. Oh, it's just not happy at all because that road's there. So even no matter what I do, it's going to snap that. So to get me a 90-degree road, I will build it there, and then I will get my bulldozer tool, which is over on this right-hand side. And I will delete that last section. That deletes all the road back to the previous node. You can see there's where the node is. It's a little bit wasteful in that I won't get all my money for that because that's a road I built and simmed in, but it won't cost a huge amount. So now I've got more space that I can expand into. I will remind myself that there's going to be stuff there by just doing this. There may be something simmed in for that, but it just reminds me not to put things directly on that path. And now my main section is going to be, I want to start on some residential here. Now, we don't have water. Water will extend across that front bit of residential, that's good. I don't need to worry about the water supply yet. Power may connect in if someone builds in here first. Well, cross our fingers and hope for that. I'll let this run again. And you can see I'm still losing money. It may be worth me now. I've got a bit of stuff set up coming into here. You can reduce the power and water levels, and that will just reduce the amount you supply. So they work separately, but normally, unless you're on a winter map or something, you probably want things done together. If I slide these down and then go into the water tab, we can see that my water and sewage is still very good, even though I've reduced the supply, so that's fine. I can spend less on them. And my power is still really high, so I can afford to turn those sliders way down. So this will save me money. You can see that it was costing, well, I don't know, well, it should halve the amount I'm spending, basically, over time. As things sim in and more stuff's built, I will need more power and more water. I'll need to come back here and slide these back up. You can also overclock them or put them above 100%, in which case they will produce a little bit more. I don't know if it's inefficient or linear or what, but it's another way you can manage your demand if you need to. Just slide your sliders up down. Sit and wait for us stuff to build in. So people are arriving in the town, driving down the main road. They prefer to drive on quick roads. See a truck and things going around the junction. It did just mention historic buildings to me, so if you find a building you particularly like, there's something pretty cutesy I might want to keep. So you might have like the first building of a type, you might have one you really like, you might have a humorous sort of thing, marketplace. You can choose to make things historic. I'll pick this one in the end and make it historic. So this will mean that the appearance of this building doesn't change, and so for the most part you're safe to do that, and it just keeps something looking the same. Probably no others I want to do that with yet. Sometimes there's some cool looking or weird industrial things you want to keep, and as long as you don't go crazy with it, it doesn't interrupt the leveling up of your town. While we wait for things to sim, you may have noticed that this area seems a bit sort of brown and horrid and smoky. That's because it's full of industry and it's polluted. And the ground is starting to go from a nice green colour to a mucky brown one. So I shall let this simulate for a bit. I'll bump up the speed and I'll bring you back in shortly when I get to the next key stage. So you can see our demand for residential is still high. These people are all built in and we need more, so let's zone in more. This is how the early stage tends to go in this game. You have to just watch your budget. I'm now in positive, so that's the big first hurdle done, and you just keep growing your city. And there we go. Our city's leveled up. We've reached Little Hamlet. So the way this city progresses you is that every so often you will reach some milestone in population, and you can look up what they are in one of the menus. And every time you reach a milestone, it unlocks new things. So now I will have taxes. I can adjust the tax rate. I can have loans. And I get new services. Now it's a double-edged sword when you get new services. When they become available, citizens will start to want them. So I will need to deal with garbage, I will need to deal with healthcare, and I will need to deal with some education soon. And then if you scroll down further, you can see the specific new buildings you get to deal with that. So I've got a clinic, which will provide healthcare, an elementary school, which is, for those of you who go through the American school system or the international school system, elementary school is going to be an obvious term. For those of you in the UK and other places, this is sort of our primary school and some secondary education, the younger children. Landfill sites. I'm sure everyone's familiar with what a landfill site is. Recycling centres. Because I've got a green DLC, I get immediate access to these recycling things. These won't eliminate garbage, but they reduce the amount of stuff that goes into the landfill, so they fill up slower and it reduces the pollution. And then community school is a alternative to the elementary school. I think the alternatives are just cosmetically different. I don't believe there's an actual effectiveness when we go to place them, you'll see they cost a little bit different in terms of upkeep and stuff. No milestones for unique buildings. I need more for stuff for monuments when I get much bigger, and there's no achievements of unlocked. If you click this right thing, we can see what the next level is. So the next upgrade will be Worthy Village, and we'll get another tile, which will be fun, and then a load more other stuff that we'll deal with when we get there, including the start of our industrial specialisations, which is what this playthrough is going to be focused on.